Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben here with Dylan and Brian, and it is finally here. We are here to talk about the premiere of Survivor 50. It's been a long time coming. We had the cast flow out like 9 months ago at this point. At that point, and the cast originally leaked like, 9 months ago. We did our original take of the season there. We did a draft very recently in the last couple of months. And now we can finally talk about the first episode of this long-awaited season.
And what a night it was. What a night. What a night. It really was. It felt like the Super Bowl for me. Like I said, I keep comparing it to the Super Bowl. It's really the only natural thing I can compare it to. I got to work the next day. It's everybody's up. Vibes are different. It was a great night. It was a fun episode. It was a very, very good episode, I thought. Vibes are great. The first 90 minutes were just like some of the best Survivor has ever offered, I think. I think it's the best episode we've obviously gotten in the new era. I think it is one of the better episodes we've had probably in the past like 10 years. There are some game flaws that we can discuss and things that have gone on, but that first 90 minutes especially was some of my favorite TV that I've watched in a long time. I think it was all really well done. I loved it. It was a great night.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, the editors and everybody really went so hard in this episode. It was incredible seeing some of these older players back on our screens for the first time in straight up decades in some cases was really incredible. And even like the new era players, I felt like brought it really well. And I love Survivor, and this is a celebration of Survivor more than anything.
Yeah, no, I loved it as well. I think, we probably have like some minor criticisms here and there, but like largely very much enjoyed the episode as a whole. Really, made me considerably more cautiously optimistic about the season going forward. We can get through it, but like even like, the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, like while the premise and the name is cheesy and like kind of cringe, didn't hate it as a twist. We can talk about that. I think a lot of the like kind of game design decisions were pretty decent for the most part, with like one or two exceptions. So yeah, really, really great. 14, 15-year narratives building up and then paying off within a single episode. Really, really good stuff. Lots of really dissect here.
There were the unexpected MVPs of this episode too. Unexpected for some of us. The one MVP I'll highlight, I had no doubts at all. Obviously, Coach, great episode for Coach. I think Coach is great. Coach is in a fantastic position, it seems, right now. I am very, very surprised how good of an episode Ozzy had. I think Coach and Ozzy more so maybe because we didn't see Coach for a while. I think Ozzy really was kind of one of the two or three main characters of this episode. Oh, yeah. I was very impressed by Ozzy because at first Ozzy was one of the people I was maybe a little unsure of like, do we really need to see Ozzy play again? Although I was happy to see everybody there. Like I got some nostalgia. Like I was glad to see everybody that's on the island. Ozzy particularly, I immediately became very happy he was there. Obviously the stuff with Coach was great and played into it, but Ozzy impressed me a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think both Ozzy and Coach really brought it. Obviously, I think they're kind of like reconciliation followed by like immediate again falling out, and then the drama that we got in the third hour after Mike White comes back from the second journey. Like that whole arc, like I expected some of the like holdover drama from South Pacific to, be engaged on this season between Ozzy and Coach in some capacity. I didn't expect it to be engaged this much, this quickly, all throughout episode one, like right off the bat, especially given that they were on separate tribes. I was like, maybe if they both make it to a swap or a merge, that's when some of this might get hashed out. But no, it hashed out immediately in like the most dramatic way possible.
Yeah, I was shocked that it went down that way. I guess I kind of in my head were like, I just didn't really think about how deeply Coach was hurt by Ozzy, um, stumping against him for the jury and helping lead to a really terrible final tribal council. But, this is a hurt that ran deep, and it's so funny that they squashed it for just a moment and then immediately reignited it. That's just, amazing Survivor. That's the kind of stuff that we dream about.
The whole living room jumped up and clapped and cheered when it was just the way Coach was told, like, even if anybody remotely suggested Coach, he was going. But when it was made clear that Ozzy was going to be one of the other players going to exile to compete there, everybody jumped up and clapped. Like you said, the payoff that early, it's really nice that they're kind of playing into some of these things too, like the players themselves. I like you said, I think a Coach really was hurt, and maybe he should be. And I think Ozzy immediately kind of playing into it and apologizing to Coach because Ozzy's on this like Ozzy 2.0 tour where he's playing differently, and I think it showed in this episode. But I was like, that's what I mean by like Super Bowl big game type atmosphere. I was up standing up cheering when that happened. It was so fun. And it just goes into the whole night was just so fun.
Yeah. So I guess do we want to like talk about? So the first thing that really jumped out to me in this episode was we get this intro, which is like a 5-minute like rehashing of the history of Survivor almost, with like a lot of focus on a lot of big moments in the history of the show, but with kind of particular focus, especially on a lot of the season 50 players, which I thought was pretty well done. And then that kind of leading into the marooning. What do you guys think about that?
I thought it was great. I think that was the part that people probably liked the most of this episode. It really hits you in the feels as a fan of the show, and especially as a fan who's been watching for so long. Like, it's taken a lot to come to 50, and it's very impressive that the show's made it to 50. Not very many shows do. So I loved it.
That montage was awesome. The history of Survivor, the editing of the cut from the Saving Private Ryan cut for Jenna, from like her younger to on the boat to then like on the island. That was all really good. Even players like Jonathan, who like, I'm happy to see Jonathan there. Jonathan was getting good laughs out of me. Like when Jeff was like, we want everything from you. We want your blood. Jonathan like cheered like, yeah, Mr. Jeff. Like, it's just the vibes were just great. The vibes were great. Like everybody was happy to be there. It was, and being my first returning player season to watch live for me, it was awesome. And I think that CBS and Survivor deserve a lot of credit for what they put into us. They've had a crazy marketing campaign kind of leading up to this. They've clearly put in a huge budget into production and edit and all that. I think going back, clipping obviously editing is people's jobs, but I think just giving us that montage at the start and not just putting us on the island and explaining like, yeah, these are returning players. I think them giving us that extra effort was awesome. It really was great.
Yeah, no, I also loved the cut with Jenna. I thought that was really cool. The like her opening the eyes and then cut to her on the boat and like they come to the beach. I think that you also get the coach giving them the speech, and then like people like being entranced as he's like giving the speech on the beach, and then. We have this opening challenge, which I really enjoy. I thought it was a pretty good opening challenge. And I think that also addressed a lot of kind of our complaints about how they've done opening challenges recently, which is no mud. They saved the mud for the second challenge. And no like equalizer puzzle kind of thing. Like there was all like kind of individual like skills and a lot of physical kind of things. Which I really liked. It felt very kind of old school, or at least older school. It was kind of a good like way to just get everyone involved and like throw everyone in. It felt very similar to me not the same caliber, but because I think that the Heroes vs. Villains episode 1 opening challenge is probably the like best in the history of the show in terms of tribal challenges. But like it kind of gave me like the same like juices flowing that one did.
Once again, I think this was a great 3 hours of Survivor. I think it was the best 3 hours of Survivor we've gotten. And you can go back to Dave versus Goliath. Like, I don't know where particularly we can pinpoint maybe where Survivor was at its peak, where it felt like this, maybe not at its peak, but where it last felt this awesome. I don't think, I still think that first episode of Heroes versus Villains is maybe my favorite all-time Survivor episode. But it's up there, and obviously we have recency bias, but they just did everything right. The players came to play too. The players brought storylines on right away. The new era winners surprised me with their gameplay. It's just like, I know we'll go more into the depth like as we go through the episode, but like even as we're just sitting here talking about it all, it really is just like, I don't think last night's episode could have gone any better for us. I really don't. I know obviously it ended very unfortunately, which it was a real punch to the gut, I think, on the night overall, but it didn't ruin the night. It was just, I'm so happy it was as good as it was. And it makes me feel very, very good for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great. I think, do we want to talk about Jenna being the first boot yet, or do we want to save that for later?
We can kind of go through each tribe, I guess, and we could start with Sela and like kind of talk through like how this ends up falling onto Jenna here. And kind of describe like the dynamics that we see play out. I would say Sela, one of the like least surprising things of the episode to me was that we kind of get this trio of Christian, Rick, and Emily. Like, I think looking at the tribe divisions before the season, like this kind of 3-person group working together, I would say one of the more predictable things, at least for me, to come to fruition this first episode. And they very quickly kind of just became the power core of this tribe.
I don't know if we would even know, but the Christian and Rick seemed like they had some sort of history. Either that or they hit it off immediately right away, which was, once again, seeing these players working together, these players that have not played together before. Very, very cool. But yeah, Rick and Christian teaming up kind of makes so much sense on paper. I don't know why I didn't really think of it before. But I thought it was very cool. Christian's another one. I thought Christian was great this episode. Really, really, really great. I'm very happy to see Christian back on my TV.
Yeah, me too. I think they probably have the RHAP like extended universe connection of playing Blood on the Clock Tower and stuff together.
Yeah, I mean, Emily and Christian are pretty close from my understanding, and they do like both play in the RHAP circle, Blood on the Clock Tower games together. So like that was like probably one of the clearest pre-game connections coming in that isn't like an obvious these people played on a season together situations. And then yeah, I know a lot of people have joked like this is like the Fishback Alliance because they're all like close friends with Stephen Fishback. Yeah, I mean it's they're just very like kindred spirits. It makes sense that the three of them are gonna team up. The thing for me was always going to be, can Suri kind of form a coalition against them, and do they become like two sides, or are they just going to be able to kind of like cannibalize the entire tribal structure? And it seems like the latter has happened, at least so far. And a big reason for that is because right off the bat, we see Jenna Lewis like immediately throwing around Suri's name. Big mistake, as Q would say. I don't think this has worked out for 90% of people who have tried it. Really completely unforced error, I would say, from Jenna. The second it happened on the show, I was like, okay, Jenna's done.
Yep. Same. I was like, well, there goes my winner pick.
Yeah.
It was something that probably in hindsight is not super shocking that somebody that hasn't played in so long is probably going to come in and overplay to try to overcompensate for being out of the game for as long as she was. I was very surprised. One, I was very surprised Suri was the first name she threw out there. I think right off the bat, because I don't think you want to happen here what happens at Winners at War, where you allow old school players to get picked off very, very early, because I assume more so Aussie Suri in what I thought would be Jenna was going to have to try to pull in either a Savannah or a Joe. Obviously, what we're talking about now with Emily and Christian being close and Rick potentially being close with both of them too. It was an error. It was an error that I think everybody picked up on very early, and I think narratively it was very clear it was going to be a problem. Sucks. I wish Jenna had done it differently, because I think maybe she would still be here. But I think that's kind of just sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles, honestly. We always get somebody that wants to overplay early on. But I think going that aggressive that early was a mistake. And I think going after the Cherie was the mistake too, because I think they very easily, had they gone, if they were going to go to tribal, they could have gone after somebody different. They could have, like Savannah. We always said Savannah was the obvious first boot when we saw the layout of this tribe. And so I am very, very surprised that one, Savannah's still here with them going to tribal, even though I think Savannah had a pretty good episode, and two, that Jenna played like that early on. But
it reminded me a lot of Sierra on Game Changers.
That's also
the same vibes.
Yeah, that's exactly the comparison I was going to make as well. Same kind of vibe, and Sierra just immediately coming onto the beach, playing hard, like way too hard, way too fast, throwing out names before really forming the connections and the alliances and the social bonds in order to justify, being able to get away with throwing out names like that. Yeah, it's just kind of I think it's a misunderstanding of like the premise of New Era Survivor, or the premise of like returning player Survivor, where like the game does move fast, but that doesn't mean that you can skip steps, right? You still have to do things in the correct order in order to be successful. And the thing that Jenna was missing was creating a foundational alliance, or creating the foundational trusts and bonds that she would be able to then use to get away with floating a name like Suri. There was just no, like, the order of operations wasn't there. Whereas with you, when you see how other people who are seeing success so far in the season are operating, even like somebody like a Jonathan or like a Chrissy, they are like kind of forming the bonds first, like laying the foundation, and then they're like, oh, let's start throwing out Dee's name, right? Let's build this group around the idea of a common target. But like, it didn't seem like Jenna was trying to build a group. It felt like she was trying to convince individuals of a goal that wasn't actually built around like a commonality. It was like, hey, let me just throw Suri's name out to as many people as I can and then hope it sticks.
I do want to address a comment in the chat real quick.
Yeah, defend your man.
About from our listener Fuqua. Listen, Coach has a great head of hair. I think that your TV may have had an issue where it was appearing he had a bald spot. He did not have a bald spot. So let's move past that. I think Coach looked fantastic. His hair looked great, and I think that might have just been a quick glitch with your TV. So we're gonna move on from that.
Yeah, the only hair really complaints I have is I don't like the mullet on Ozzy. I don't think it's working personally. I don't know about you guys.
going into the season where people were saying Ozzy looks like a rat person, looks terrible. I don't think the mullet is doing him any favors. It's like the joke of like my mom, of like a middle school gym teacher in the 80s. He very much looks like that.
Someone put it on Twitter, and he looks like Shambo.
Yeah, the two things I can pirate.
Yeah,
it's
Shambo pirate.
It's very Aussie, but when they cut back to show the South Pacific final tribal where he's going at coach and he has the braids, it's very shocking. And then to cut back to Aussie with the mullet. It's.
I would even say that Ozzy's hair is one of the more iconic aspects of his character. So to come this season with it looking like that, just not great.
Well, hey, he's like what's his Ozzy's full name? Is it Oscar? Oswald?
Oscar.
Oscar.
Maybe that's Oscar's true hairstyle is the mullet. Honestly, I think with Jenna, it's all you can really just say is that it's a miscalculation, and like we said, it's an overplay. It is what it is. It sucks, and I'm sad that it's her. But it felt pretty obvious. Obviously, if they're going the tribal, which felt like it was setting up to, it was going to be Jenna versus Suri, and I think maybe based on the challenge, maybe Suri probably would have been gone if Jenna just had kept her mouth shut.
Yeah,
it seemed pretty obvious. And I guess I saw today too that there was a lot edited out of this episode too. We're already getting a lot of pretty good scenes. Some scenes that I thought, which actually showed them after tribal, which I thought was a good scene. I wish they had kept it in. Pretty much them saying they think that they should immediately target Ozzy next, which I think is going to be interesting. Apparently, that part of the challenge took Suri, the throwing part, like 20 minutes. It was like, so I guess it was like pretty bad. I think they mentioned that Jenna might have talked it up a little bit more than it actually was, but I guess it was really bad. That challenge as a whole too, with like Colby, once we get into that tribe too, with everything that happened with Kyle, Colby is an old man. I don't think there's any way around it now. Colby is an old man. He's no longer 50s, he is like, I think what we have going on too is sort of similar to like Batman Beyond with the RIZGOD, the Riz God, and Colby being Bruce Wayne when he's old.
Who was it? Was it Damon Wayne or who was it in Batman Beyond?
It was, I think, Terry McGinnis. I think was the name of Batman Beyond. So that is the Riz God. Colby, very old. You can't hear out of his left ear. Apparently, the reason that Kyle got hurt was Kyle came back down to help Colby up, and then when Kyle was jumping up the second time after he got Colby back up there, that's when the injury happened. So that sucks. Feel bad for Colby, feel bad for Kyle. Obviously, we'll get into Kyle because that was heartbreaking. But yeah, these people are old. Ozzy's old. Suri's old. Colby's old. This is very much
Colby's old, moving like older man too. Like it was sad to see, but
I think that's why we need to appreciate the specimen that coach is. Coach is he's designed in a lab. The fact that he is still in good a shape as he is and doing the things that he's doing.
We also had Ozzy tweaking his back in this episode.
Yeah, I will say Ozzy is not that old. He's only 2 years older than Rick Devens. So
I guess we've seen Ozzy since he was a very young man too. So that's part of the illusion.
Yep. He started playing Survivor when he was like 22. So makes sense.
Yeah. Although I will say in that challenge before the key part, he was moving like prime Ozzy. He looked good there. So
yeah, climbing the pole and then swimming out and all that. Yeah, he was rocking it. So.
I think he'll be fine going forward. It just,
I think the natural transition to, before we jump into like Kalo and Vatu, before we kind of go to the end of the game, I do want to quickly talk about Exile. If we want to do that first, I think that'll naturally bring us to really, because we didn't get a whole lot of time with Kalo. They were the tribe we spent the least amount of time with, I believe.
Yeah.
Exile was great. Coach and Ozzy making peace for about 20 minutes was very good. Coach winning with honor and taking the keys because he never agreed to whoever gets the keys gets to keep it. That's not what Coach agreed to. He made that very, very clear, which is why I think he's very smart with everything he's doing. Another great part. I think, I don't know if you guys have thoughts about what the actual reward itself was for Ozzy and for Q after, but man, Q, it's very odd when Q is the quietest of a trio and it happens to be Ozzy and Coach as the other two. I feel like Q was even starstruck in that scenario.
Yeah. He's like a third wheel, of like a weird kind of like frenemies dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun to see him kind of be like, oh, this is very awkward. But I think everything that happened with Coach, totally, on his side, like he didn't agree. The point of the game was to fight over the key. I think the only misstep is he should have just gone back and been like, yeah, Ozzy was like trying to get us to not try to steal the key at the end, but that was the whole point of the game. So I did that. And his try would have been like, yeah, Coach, we love you. I don't know why, or it seems like he at least presented it in a different way that made him like go catatonic when Mike White brought it up.
Well, because, Coach did win that game with honor and integrity. And then to hear that Ozzy is saying otherwise is I can see how that could be upsetting. The shot of Coach telling Ozzy he's so sorry, and I think, Ben, you pointed out, right, he pats his head, and then immediately getting up and doing the Dragon Slayer pose was the best thing that has happened on television in quite some time. And it was almost like, full disclosure, I had a few espresso martinis while I was watching last night. I was having a good time, and I think I initially missed that in first watch, but when I threw it on this morning, hilarious, very, very funny. Coach has not changed one bit. I think that Coach is Coach, and I am incredibly happy that he is Coach in this season. We're not getting, he's Coach 4.0, but we're still getting Coach. It was great. It was great.
Yeah,
very fun. Glad that Exile Island was back. It feels like maybe only for this one part, but it was nice to have it back for a second to see it on the screen listed as Exile Island.
Yeah, no, I thought this was like, even though we've complained about losing both, I think that I'll get to the second journey. I think the second journey was kind of a bust for me, but I think this first journey, like fight for supplies twist and like how it all played out, I thought was pretty decent. And at least from like a game design perspective, I mean. And yeah, I really enjoyed Exile Island, and the opportunity for Ozzy to kind of show that he is coming into play a little bit more cutthroat, that he's not going to like necessarily like lean on being the challenge guy, the provider guy, and trying to like, evolve his game finally, right? We're on Ozzy 5.0. You like at a certain point, you kind of have to evolve your game, and it feels like that's kind of where we're being set up. He gets more screen time in this episode than he did his entire fourth time playing. So I think that we're kind of being set up for him at least to be a major character in the short term, if not potentially for the entire season. So I'm very excited to see how it plays out. And yeah, like Coach, I think this episode to me just proved that I think Coach is probably the best reality TV casting in the history of reality TV. He's incredible. There's nothing else to say. I'm so excited that we get him back. Hopefully he's here for a long time.
It is. I don't know if Coach was part of the process back when they used to recruit, or if Coach was like someone that went to one of the Survivor recruiting events. I don't know if we know that for sure. Like if Coach tried out for Survivor or if he was recruited first. Whoever was the first one to get their hands on Coach and put him through the casting process deserves all the good things that should be happening to them. I agree. I think that he is probably my favorite all-time reality TV character. He is just even on TikTok, social media, like he just he is the character coach. He is coach. Ben Wade does not exist. Coach Dragon Slayer is who he is. It's great. It's great. I'll be devastated if coach doesn't win. I'll especially be devastated if he goes far and doesn't win. But my main concern is I want coach, and I really want Ozzy around now too for as long as possible for this season, because I think it's going to give us the best entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about the previews much usually, but we have the preview for episode 2. Coach calling Ozzy out at the next challenge that we get. So like, this rivalry is not going away anytime soon.
Mike White coming back from the second whatever we want to call it, don't lose my vote challenge or whatever it is. Mike White coming back from that and telling coach what Ozzy said, and coach like immediately turning into coach 2.0 was great. Was great. It's and once again, same thing, when they showed that preview for next week, we all got up and cheered and clapped. It was awesome. It's just this feeling about Survivor, and we've had some pretty good seasons recently that we've watched, and we've had our fair share of grievances and things we complained about. I have never been this excited for Survivor, and just like we said, having those storylines pay off this early and start to develop this early and play in. If Ozzy's gone in 2 weeks, that sucks, but I still think we're getting the most out of them right now, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, talking about the Mike White of it all, like he for me earns his position on this season with that like little bit of shit stirring, because that's like I think a lot of people are like, oh, Mike White's on the season because of White Lotus, because he's famous, you know, they want the cross promotional whatever. I think a lot of people, and we talked about this in some of our preseason coverage and our draft and, you know, cast valuations. Like, Mike White is legitimately very good at Survivor. And a lot of his gameplay comes around to just, like, quietly, like, manipulating relationships and shit stirring and, like, kind of, like, pushing buttons without, like, it coming back on him. And, like, here, he's, like, very deliberately pushing coaches' buttons. Like, obviously, the things he's saying are founded in, you know, in truth. Like, this is real information that Colby gives to him. But, like, you know, this is not he's making a very appointed and deliberate decision to give this information to coach and to do it in front of the entire tribe. And you can, like, kind of see the little smirk on his face as it, like, kind of plays out. He's feeding the audience with a little bit of drama here, and this is also very good gameplay, I would say.
I think Mike White is here to play. I don't think Mike White is here just to enjoy his cake and wine. I think Mike White is here to play and win this. He's fucking shredded. He's ripped, which is didn't see that coming. When he took his shirt off, that was very impressive. Need to get on whatever regimen he's on, whether it's steroids or the Mediterranean diet. I don't know, but that was shocking.
It might be a cycle or so, you know, just enough to get the definition, but not get too bulky.
Could be that Hollywood money body too, which I assume it's probably that more than anything else.
That doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt for sure.
There's probably about, I already said Ozzy. I'm not surprised by coach, although I am surprised how good of a day coach had. Mike White's another character that surprised me a little bit in this episode. Very surprised by Mike White. Like I said, he, regardless of what our thoughts and I said, like I think that he is there as a nod to him for everything he's given to Survivor and how big of a fan he is, and obviously everything with White Lotus. He's there to play. It's kind of easy to forget how good he was in David versus Goliath. Him not winning, people have opinions on that, and I think it's very debatable, and you can argue that he played the best by far in that season. Mike White is a very good Survivor player, and on top of that, he is very good at providing us entertainment. And I think knowing what to do with coach there is why he's here, and now I'm much more happier that he's here. He is among everybody else, even down to like players like Tiffany, who we really did not get a whole lot of in this episode. There's not a single person here, even with Jenna doing misstepping like she did, there's not a single person that's in this game right now that I'm either disappointed with from that first episode or like I'm like, oh, they should have had so and so else here instead of this person. I think it's a great meshing of everybody, and like Mike White kind of locks that in for me too. That I think casting knew what they were doing, bringing back who they brought back, and I think that Mike White, I hope he's around too. Unfortunately, a lot of these people are going to be gone very, very quick coming up. So I hope Mike White is not one of them.
Yeah, I would say Mike arguably in the best position on his tribe too, from what we've kind of seen. Like how this Kylo tribe is kind of shakes out is you have Coach as like kind of the figurehead. He comes back, everyone's cheering. He has a lot of conversations with individual people. He has a scene with Charlie. He has good conversations with both Chrissy and Jonathan that we see, where Dee's name is being pushed heavily as a potential first target. Mike also then has a separate conversation with Charlie where they seem to form like this bond. Mike is doing this whole like, I need somebody to help carry me through this game strategically, which is total horseshit. You know, I would say Mike is one of the like stronger strategic players from the 30s. The idea that he needs somebody to carry him through the game strategically is a fabrication that he's apparently seemingly getting away with. I don't know if people like just haven't watched David versus Goliath since it aired or whatever, but like that's just it's incredible that he's seemingly able to get away with this perception of himself being put forward. So yeah, it seems like we're having this kind of Jonathan, Chrissy, Coach trio with Mike kind of loosely attached to that, and then we also get a scene with Dee, Camilla, and Tiffany kind of forming a trio. Targeting Chrissy, and then Mike and Charlie potentially as a duo in the middle, maybe as swing votes, but with Mike seemingly having stronger bonds with the people who are probably going to end up forming the majority. So yeah, just really, really like brilliant positioning game for Mike so far.
Yeah, I think it was Chrissy who first approached Coach saying she wanted to work with him, right?
Yep.
I was very excited about that. This is an interesting tribe. I think when we discussed it, when Brian and I jumped on last week, I think I said that this Kahlo tribe is one of my favorites. I think that they're stacked. I think that they're in pretty good shape overall. I honestly thought Vatu was going to be the disaster tribe. I thought Kahlo was going to be pretty good. I wasn't sure Sela was. I don't think any tribe has been a disaster tribe yet. But Kahlo's in very good shape, and then Dee is an interesting of the new era players. I think Dee is probably in the least good spot before we had Kyle's Medivac. I think Kyle was in probably the best shape, honestly, at that point. But Dee is interesting to watch because I think obviously she's in seemingly a minority at this point. I'm not really clear of where Charlie's alliances are falling. I really don't remember too much of Charlie in this episode. Other than was it Charlie that brought up asking Coach about his toe or seeing the toe ring? I think that this tribe, and that's what we didn't spend enough time with them because they're in good shape. I definitely want more from this tribe to kind of see what the true layouts are, because we came into this season too with the understanding that Camilla, her all-time favorite player is Coach. All she wants to do is work with Coach and be a disciple of Coach. So I want to see how that will play out. It very much does feel like Dee and Tiffany are kind of on the bottom at this point. And I need to see how Dee will navigate out of that, because if she is this social player that is a magnet that draws people to her and she's masterful with it, we need to see it now, because if she is, to no surprise, she is going to be probably one of the first people that they go after. So we need to see how she's going to maneuver through that. But I think we need to spend more time with this tribe to kind of get that answer first.
Yeah, and I think like losing Kyle for Vatu is going to be a really big detriment for them in the challenges. So I don't know if they'll go to tribal even, Like he might be the tribe that just stays at camp for the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they have Jonathan, obviously, but they also
That helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a big deal. But they also have, Chrissy, really, really strong challenge performer. Dee, really, really strong challenge performer. Camilla and Charlie are probably two of the best puzzle players in the new era. Like, I'd say both of them are like in the conversation for like top 5 puzzle performers. So like, it's going to be really hard, I would say, to manufacture a challenge where they're the third best out of these 3 tribes. Now, with that being said, if they start doing a bunch of double boots in subsequent rounds where second and third place go to tribal, only first place is safe, I can definitely see a scenario where they like lose a close challenge to another tribe and end up in like the second place slot and still have to go to tribal council. So I don't think they're out of the woods here in terms of going to tribal, but they're in the best spot to go to the fewest tribals.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to find the confessional count. I do know Dee and Tiffany were both at the bottom. I think
they both got 1 or 2 each.
I think, one had 1, one had 2. I just forget which of them had 1, one had 2, but they're both at the bottom. So yeah, there's more to be given with this tribe, but I think you're right. I think that especially with Jonathan, with Kyle out, we may not see this tribe have to go to tribal very often, unless, I don't know, maybe this is our tribe that we don't see until they split up, until they're forced to get split up. You know what I mean? Which seemingly every season recently has had one of those tribes that really doesn't have to do anything until there is some sort of like pre-merge breakup of the players. So I think you're right, which for me as coach is my number 1 overall pick. I'm very happy about that as someone that now wants to see Mike White and stay in the game. And I think that Jonathan brought a lot of entertainment too. We can't complain about Uncle Jeff and not in at the same breath be okay with Mr. Jeff. But I will admit I laughed very hard. Like I said, when Jeff asked for everybody's blood and dedication and he shouted out, "Yes, Mr. Jeff." It was hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I would say I find both cringy.
Yeah. Right. Like, of course. Well, yeah, no, Jonathan's just such a fascinating character, just like James was. Just the mere size of these men is so crazy. And it's like, I don't know if intimidating is the right word, but like, if he's on your team, you got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah. No, it definitely felt like everyone on this tribe, when they realized that Jonathan was on this tribe, were very happy.
Yeah. They had a whole montage of everyone just being like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he's so awesome. He's throwing boulders at coconuts to open them. It's like crazy.
I think all the tribe breakouts are really well done too, because obviously it was premeditated. It's not like they picked out of that basket, and it was just like, oh, surprise. I think that the breakout of all these tribes was very well done. I think that we get we have a whole bunch of different meshings of gameplay. We have a different meshing of personalities. I think it was a really there's no one tribe that I can say it was like stacked from the jump. You know what I mean? Like, obviously we just said Kahlo is in the best shape and they have the beast that is Jonathan. But I think that the breakout of all these tribes adds an interesting element to the game itself. And I think that's another thing production deserves credit for. I think that this was a really well done breakout of everything. Not giving us Coach and Ozzy on the same tribe was the right move. I think certain things like adding Colby and Stephanie together was the right move. Things like keeping Kyle and Camilla separated was the right move. I think, everything was well done with this breakout. But I'm very happy Kyle was in the position they are. Like I said, to have players like Coach stick around, it'll be good for D too. Maybe that is going to be what like I said, maybe that is what saves D's game early on, that they never have to go to tribal. And then, like I said, by the time you get out of these first few eliminations and you get into, like, if we get into a tribe swap early on, I think that the the nervousness and the worry that other players have about winning players, especially new era winning players, I think that kind of goes away when they're already so sucked into the game at that point, which is why Jenna misstepped so much. Savannah should have been the very easy early boot to just get rid of somebody you don't know and somebody that you just found out won their season. So that might be what saves D, especially, unfortunately with Kyle going out, that maybe that somehow lessens her threat or increases it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it depends how early they swap for sure. And also, like, we don't know necessarily even how this tribe would break out at a tribal council. Like right now, it looks like the D, Camilla, Tiffany trio is in the minority, but like Charlie has, played on a season with Tiffany. There's a relationship there. Him and D are supposedly pretty good friends outside of the game. There's a relationship there. I would say the thing that probably drags him towards the other side is that him and Coach know each other as well through Ben Katzman, who is like a good mutual friend of both of them. So I think that Charlie is in a really interesting spot here and probably is like going to end up being a bit of a kingmaker.
Yep. Kind of similar to where he was on his original season, where he was between the guys and the girls alliance and ultimately helped dictate what would happen there. So yeah, big stuff for Charlie. I really like Charlie, so I'm pretty happy that he's in this spot. And he seems like, they paid a lot of mind to Rizzo as like a starstruck super fan, but I think Charlie's right there with him,
Yeah. And I think everybody wants Charlie to get some sort of like redemption and satisfactory kind of second ending for how things ended in his season. Kind of just being just screwed over by someone who was your closest confidant and your closest alliance member. I want that for Charlie. It's tough because, like I said, people are going to start dropping very quickly soon. It has to work given the number of players. I am very surprised that we had seemingly I don't know what the whole design is going to be if Kyle didn't get hurt, because obviously they needed to edit it. But once I saw that we only had 30 minutes left and we still had not had a challenge or tribal, something tells me that next week we're going to be seeing potentially 3 eliminations, something along those lines. So I hope Charlie can work it out. But I think if Charlie is sticking with, if he's sticking with Tiffany and seemingly put D in there, they're in the minority. I don't really, because we got from Camilla in this episode, Camilla wants to be, I love Camilla. She's great. Camilla's great. She's great TV. And I think that Camilla, this is her chance to really break out and she wants to be the fun little villain. She wants to be the fun little troublemaker, somebody that nobody ever wants to be anymore. And so I want her to, I want that for her. It's just a matter of, is she just saying this and it's just like, she's kind of like playing it up to the things that she said in her original season, or is she actually going to aim to do it? Because if she wants to do that and kind of just start being the troublemaker, what does that look like? Is that like blindsiding Mike White, or is that blindsiding Dee and Tiffany? But then all of a sudden, you're Camilla, you're on the bottom. But I think that you could also just go over to Coach and be like, hey, Coach, you're the greatest who's ever lived. And I think that Coach will immediately like defend you with his life. So I think she has moves to make, but Camilla is somebody that I want this to be the ability for her to take the next step as a Survivor star, because she says all the right things. And I think that she's very entertaining with the little screen time she's gotten. But I need her to like actually act on it and do these things now. And I don't want her to be the backseat driver. I think her and Kyle were a pair. I don't think maybe it's not fair to call her a backseat driver, but you know what I mean? She didn't win. She was not the person that capitalized the most between her and Kyle's relationship. So I want her to be able to go further with her game in here. Like I said, we need that next star, and I think that Camilla can be our next star. And looking back on the things she's done, but she's got to do it now, and she's got to do it early on, because she can very easily be in a minority and out of here before we get to the merge.
Yeah, I think that like the one potential upside here to Kyle going out this way is that like Camilla might be able to actually play her own game without that baggage. I hope she does. I hope we get something interesting out of her. Because yeah, obviously also a very big Camilla fan. I think all of us were in 48. So hopefully that could be maybe like a silver lining to the unfortunate circumstance with Kyle. So I guess we could talk about that now. So we can talk about the Vatu tribe, the dynamics there, and kind of the like consequence of this medevac by the end of the episode. Because yeah, I was like, my jaw was on the floor. Let me tell you, like about an hour in, when I realized how good of a spot Kyle was in. Because I don't think any of us expected him to be that good of a spot right off the bat, coming out of them having just watched him win like a couple of weeks before they flew out in like such a dominating fashion, like one of the more dominating wins in the last decade or so. For him to come in, have both Joe and Camilla on the cast, and still immediately get into that kind of a spot, just like a huge testament to how good he is at this game.
Totally agree. I think that he somehow going out second still managed to cement himself as like a Survivor legend. Does that make sense? Is that too dramatic? I don't know. But like, I was blown away by Kyle's position, how just easy it was for him to, put himself in, I think maybe the best spot of everybody on the cast, and to have it end that way sucked so much. And he seems like such a like great guy, and obviously he's a really good Survivor player. So it just was like a huge gut punch, and I think everyone felt it because everyone online seemed like heartbroken for him.
Yeah, there's no two ways around it. It sucked. It was very sad. Like I said, it was a big gut punch to the episode as a whole, especially because kind of knew it was coming when you were checking the clock and seeing what was going on. I was just really hoping there was going to be something else that gives. But I'm glad. How do I say this? I'm glad that it ended up being that we didn't have that. We had that amount of time left because it was a Kyle medevac and not because they were going to do something stupid with the game. So I guess they're going to leave us off on a cliffhanger with them starting like a challenge. So it sucked. I think everything it's one of, for me, and once again, recency bias, but I think medevac wise, he was not obviously in the most danger out of some other players that have been medevac. Obviously we had Caleb and Cole Rung that was like basically dying of heat stroke at that point. We've had other players who had to leave because they had kids and family members who were hurt or sick or right. It was a Savage's son was Terry's son was getting his appendix removed or something like that. So
heart issues.
Heart issues. That's what it was. So it's not as scary as those, but I think overall, when you look back and you see he was already wheeling and dealing. I think he had this tribe wrapped around his finger.
Yep.
And I think just that it's going to be a huge what if now. It really is because obviously he's a winner, so he still has that that he can go back to, but it sucks. And especially with the knowledge too, now that it was because he went back down to help Colby, who Colby is another character who I thought had a great episode, but we can dive into him quickly after this.
And it should be said in his exit interview, he said that Colby was the one carrying everybody up the thing. So it made sense that he was tired, and he doesn't blame Colby for what happened.
There's nobody in the wrong. There's nobody in the wrong. It's just very unfortunate.
Nobody did anything wrong.
If anyone's in the wrong, it's production for making them do a warped wall style challenge through mud. All right.
Yeah. Especially with the mud. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's and I think everything with them, like him being carried out by Q and by Colby. Obviously everybody was very emotional. Aubrey, poor Aubrey having like flashbacks to everything that happened in Colorado,
and Joe. Yeah,
it was an emotional scene. It sucked. It was a tough way to end the episode. Kyle seems like such a great and genuine guy too. I saw that his wife is pregnant. They're expecting a baby in May.
Yeah.
So there's some good news there. I think he made the right decision to take himself out for the betterment of him long term. I am assuming we will see Kyle again, but it's a bummer because once again, nothing's given. We don't know if we'll ever see that player again. We don't know how this will affect his life. Obviously, I think it's just a ruptured, torn Achilles. It's not like he'll lose his leg, but it could alter, his ability to play Survivor again. It's just it's a bummer. It sucked. There's nothing anybody can do about it. I think Kyle made the right move. It adds an element to this tribe too, that like things have changed a lot with the landscape of who's in the minority, who's in the majority because of Kyle going out and because of other things. So it's gonna have a big impact on the game, and it was sad. Feel bad for Kyle. It sucks, but the show must go on.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I really hope we do see Kyle again after this. Like, because like literally the first like hour and a half of the episode, I was like, is Kyle going to win again? Like, are we getting Kyle goes 2 for 2, wins Survivor 50? Is that what we're setting up here? Only for it to go this way. It was like really just like a huge whiplash, like really disappointing, because like it felt like he was so set up to go to like at least go and take a deep run in this game. Because what we see with this setup in this trial, just to break it down, Colby and Steph immediately duo up. Not that surprising. I think that's like probably one of the things coming into the season that we would have expected to happen. And then the other big duo that we get here is Kyle and Genevieve, which is kind of like an unexpected, at least for me, duo. And then they kind of form a 4. Kyle seems to be really respected by both Colby and Steph. Steph and Genevieve seem to have like a kind of a fast friendship as well. And they're kind of looking for a 5th. The 5th ends up kind of being Q, who comes back without a vote, but is still brought in. Kyle seems to be the one bringing in Q with that relationship. We then find out in Exit Press that he also had a relationship with both Angelina and Aubrey. Specifically, he had like a secret duo with Angelina. He said that Angelina was probably his closest ally after Genevieve, in fact. So just like legitimately, Kyle had his hand in every single pot in this tribe. And then also we have Rizzo, who is kind of on the outs, but might have an in now with the way that the structure kind of plays, because he has like this moment with Colby where Colby starts out being annoyed by him. And then they end up having a moment where like Colby's kind of being like a dad mentor figure. Rizzo is breaking down in tears, as he was wont to do many times throughout 49. So just like a really, I think this tribe to me is the most interesting dynamic, especially with now after the second journey, both Q and Colby have lost their votes. So what should have been like a very clear-cut 5-3 majority-minority split is now 4-3 because Kyle got medevaced, and now because Colby and Q don't have votes at the first tribal council, potentially a 3-2 split if Aubrey, Angelina, and Rizzo realize that they're on the outs. And so it's really going to come down to probably whether Colby is able to pull in Rizzo is seemingly kind of what's being set up. And Aubrey being seemingly the like most likely target here. But we'll see. Aubrey, I think, probably had one of the worst episodes, I would say, of the night of anybody on the cast. Her primary
talk
scene.
about diminishing returns.
Yeah.
It sucks. As someone who's, a well-known, huge Aubrey fan, this is the thought that she could have been the first boot, terrible.
I think that what happens with Rizzo is very important, obviously.
Yes.
And like you said, it feels like Rizzo and Colby. Once again, I know a lot of this was very obvious, but on Tyson's podcast when he was discussing this tribe, he kept making jokes about like Colby hating Rizzo right away, and then all of a sudden, he becomes like this father figure for the tribe. Which, if that's, I think that is the role Colby needs to embrace. Poor Colby, he can't hear out of his left ear, which I also have like 50% hearing loss in my left ear, so I understand that pain. He can't see, he can't hear. So I think Colby taking in Rizzo is almost beneficial to them. I think Aubrey and Angelina are in a lot of trouble right now. But that shakeup from a 5-3 majority to them being in a 3-2 minority. And also they're now down a man for challenges. They're probably they're overall their best athlete on the team
by far.
They're this tribe's in a lot of trouble. It's just a matter of who is in trouble. Colby was fantastic in this episode. Colby really surprised me. I think it was the bounce back episode he needed after Heroes versus Villains. So I'm very happy for him for that. Steph, I'm like so on. I think Stephanie was fine this episode, but I agree. I think Aubrey and Angelina really, Aubrey specifically did not have a good episode. I am worried for her. And I think, like I said, I am assuming we're going to have, at the very least, we know we're likely getting 2 eliminations next episode, and I think that we're potentially going to be getting 3. So it's not good for Aubrey, but her production and their twist and people losing votes, which my biggest and really my only complaint of this episode, people losing votes right away this early. I don't know why they're so obsessed with taking people's votes.
We love it. I hate it. Obviously, I wrote a blog and did a video about it, but I will reiterate the worst twist in the history of Survivor, and they just love doing it.
Mm-hmm. It's we've said it before. It should be the one guarantee in this game that you have your vote heading into tribal council, and the fact that they're still playing games with that, and the fact that you have 2 people after the first episode on a tribe who had somebody medevaced without their vote is not a good thing. It is something that they need to get away from and they need to fix. I don't know if this is their way of but somebody's have to go home either way. So I don't know what the goal of doing this is, to shorten the game or get people out quicker because of numbers. It doesn't make sense. Don't know why they're obsessed with it. It's very unfortunate. It is the biggest negative for me of this episode, but everything else was just so damn good that I'm willing to look past it. But this tribe, I agree, the layout's really good, really interesting. But it's all set up to kind of be dramatic. But it's like I don't know what's going to happen with here, because I'd hate to think that somebody like Colby's going to go home because of this. That would suck. That would be really unfortunate. But maybe they don't see him as a huge threat right now. But I think that he had a fantastic episode.
Yeah, I think that the one, obviously the second, I think the weak point of the episode was the second journey for me, both the structure of it and how it played out. I mean, in hindsight, I think that probably would have been best for Colby to say to opt out at the point where they drew rocks on the Journey Island, because how it kind of was structured was we get Savannah, Mike, and Colby here, and they're like, either one of you has to give up your chance at something here and get in the boat and leave, or you draw rocks to figure out who's going to do it. Mike ends up drawing the rock to go, but I think that in the position that Colby's in, especially with how reticent he seemed to be to even go on the journey to begin with, I feel like the call here is just to be like, hey, you know what? I don't need this. This is a risk I'm not willing to take. I probably shouldn't have even come on this journey to begin with. I'm having second thoughts. Let me get out of here. Leave Mike and Savannah to battle it out. It was an unnecessary risk at that point. There wasn't out for him, and he didn't take it. With Q having already lost his vote, with this majority already kind of being a little shaky, with Kyle being hurt, obviously they didn't know at this point that he was going to get medevaced, but he might. It should be something that's in the back of your head at this point. Even if he doesn't think that he's immediately going to get medevaced, it's certainly a possibility he could, potentially tweak something and then get a medevac in a couple of days before they go to tribal. Every vote matters. He didn't need to risk his vote here for no reason.
I think that Colby still wants to prove he's got it, whatever it is still. Yeah. And I think that played in his decision, which he can't be doing that. He has to be thinking about Colby in season 50 and not Colby in Outback. or in All Stars. Yeah, it's on paper that alliance of Q, Kyle, Genevieve, Stephanie, and Colby is awesome. That's like such an insane mashup of so many different players from different eras, and I think that coming together, that is Kyle and Genevieve alone working together is kind of like for any new era fans, that is kind of just that alone is insane. That's Iron Man and Captain America teaming up type level of just like something we've been waiting for. And that's why we wanted a returning player season like this. I really hope that as much as I like Aubrey and Angelina, I want that I want the Q, Colby, Genevieve, and Stephanie alliance to make it out of here. I really do. I want to see them go far. I love everybody. I love everybody in this game. I love everybody on this tribe. But there's a story to be told there, especially with Colby at the most, with Q, with Genevieve and her redemption. I hope it plays out, and I don't want it to be cut short because of these dumb lost votes. It's just it would suck. It would suck, and it's going to be something that could really potentially ruin this season if that's the path they go down. So I'm hoping that it's not a continuous thing, even though we understand it's most likely going to be.
Yeah, it would really be frustrating, especially with how well, in my opinion, Genevieve and Colby played this episode, for them to like get screwed in some capacity, and how poorly Aubrey played. Like there needs to be some kind of direct line of playing Survivor good and well towards results. Like there can be some randomness, but like this is a little over the line in terms of like Colby and Genevieve, I would say on this tribe played the best outside of Kyle, Kyle being gone now. But of the remaining 7, those are the 2 people I think have played the best so far on this tribe. And Aubrey, like, definitively has played the worst on this tribe, potentially on the entire season so far, in my opinion. So, like, the idea that, like, Aubrey could get bailed out and one of Genevieve or Colby could be getting screwed because of the way these lost votes have kind of bounced. And, like, you could say, oh, Q made the decision to allow Ozzy to take the extra vote when he could have fought for it more. And Colby, like I just said, could have neglected to play and got back on the boat and not drawn rocks. Like it's still like the fact that this is even a possibility that they might lose the numbers here because of it is very I would say the one thing coming out of this episode that I'm most annoyed by.
Yeah. Shout out Q. I think Q had a good episode too, honestly, outside of losing the vote. I think that Q seems to maybe have learned from some of his mistakes in the first season. I think linking up with Colby and Stephanie was the right move for him. I think him and Genevieve, once again, could be very interesting. But it's just, the fallout from Kyle leaving on top of the votes is like, that's why I think that this is one of the worst medivacs in terms of like the game itself. Kyle leaving now and kind of like the aftermath of this tribe with everything that's going to be going on. Because if Kyle doesn't get medevaced, it's 3-3. You know what I mean? That's a different story than 3-2 minority for that alliance. So, unfortunate. But I very, 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 very excited for next week. Brian, is there anything else you wanted to say? I would like to review our current draft teams and what's going on there.
Ooh, not good for me. No, I think we've covered it all pretty well. I'm just very happy Survivor's back, and I'm so excited to have a returning player season to talk about.
So I don't want to toot my own horn. I'm in very, very, very good shape after today, I feel like. So a quick recap of the teams. Ben, you have Genevieve, Tiffany, Colby, Aubrey, Jonathan, Rick, Rizzo, and Kyle. So obviously, unfortunately, you lost Kyle today, but that was second. Mm-hmm. Brian, you have Jenna, who is very unfortunately our first boot. Chrissy, Stephanie, Charlie, Camilla, Suri, Mike White, and D. And then we have my team, which once again, I'm not trying to gloat and say how great of a shape I am. I have Coach, who is my personal MVP of the episode, unbiased opinion. Emily, Q, Christian, who, by the way, we quickly touched on it. Christian with the glasses, starting the fire, awesome, really, really, really good stuff. I have Savannah, who impressed me. Angelina, who obviously we just talked about, maybe not in the best spots right now. I have Joe, who I think is like surprisingly in a pretty decent spot. I think that hopefully we'll see more of Joe. I know we really didn't talk about Joe too much. Then I have Ozzy, who is my co-MVP of the episode. I'm very excited about my team. Very, very excited. I think I'm in good shape, but I think we all have at least one person who's in danger, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just talking about Aubrey. I think Aubrey is definitely like the glaring issue on my draft team right now. And like Tiffany is like not in super great shape, but probably not in immediate danger. But the rest of my team, I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah, I was in hell when it was looking like it was going to be Suri or Jenna. It's like, no, these are two I were counting on.
Yeah.
So at least Suri's still there, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I will say, Kyle was 24th drafted out of 24. So even him getting 2 points for me is technically, above, like batting above his expected value, right? So True. Like I can't be that upset. Obviously, like I was very happy. I felt like I got a huge steal getting Kyle last in the draft with how well he seemed to be performing in the start of the episode. But yeah, I guess we'll take the 2 points. His expected value based off of draft order was 1 point. So I'm feeling okay.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up, Ben. Thank you, everyone, for checking this out. Make sure you subscribe to the Blindsiders YouTube channel, which is like, I'm going to be doing some videos on there. Follow us on all the various social medias, all that. Ben, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, we're just a couple hours out here now from the finale of the Traders US Season 4. So we'll be watching that tonight. And then we'll be back tomorrow, us three and Julia, to cover that and wrap up that season. Also a very fun and exciting season of reality TV that has been.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.